What is good, YouTube? It's your boy D4P back again with another video. And today we are reacting to every life lesson everyone learns too late, part 1. Let's get into the video.
Predicting what will make you happy. You're terrible at predicting what will make you happy. You spend years chasing things you think will make you happy, only to get them and realize they don't. The promotion feels good for 3 weeks. The new car stops mattering after 6 months. And the relationship you thought would complete you just creates different problems. Turns out, every life lesson you need to learn before it's too late starts with this one. You don't actually know what you want.
Interesting. Interesting. I mean, one thing that I know I want, fuck relationships and fuck all the other bullshit, bro. I just want, like, at least some level of stability financially, bro. Like, I don't like stressing over money. Like, that is definitely something that I do not like, bro. Maybe I don't know everything else. Maybe I don't know what I want for real. But one thing I know that I don't want to stress over is money, bro.
Research on affective forecasting shows that people consistently neglect their own personality traits when predicting future happiness. Instead, they focus on external circumstances that matter far less. You assume the job title will change everything, that the bigger house will finally feel like enough, that the luxury purchase will deliver lasting satisfaction. None of it does. The problem is, purchases trigger something called hedonic adaptation, where the excitement fades fast and your baseline happiness resets.
I've never really been the kind of person that always wants to like buy something. You feel me? Like I've never really been like the kind of person that's like, oh, I want to go shopping, I want to buy this. Nah. Like that's never been me. So I get, like I have friends with shopping addictions, I have friends that like just love to go shopping and do all of that. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. But then I personally just never derived any happiness from, going shopping and spending all my money.
Meanwhile, the things that actually build satisfaction across years, relationships, personal autonomy, meaningful work, get pushed aside because they don't look as impressive from the outside. People waste entire decades optimizing for the wrong variables, then wonder why success feels hollow.
Because they want to flex in front of all their haters, bro. The constant urge to flex as a human being is so high, it's crazy.
Check whether your goals actually match what research shows creates lasting fulfillment. Strong relationships, personal freedom,
Sorry, there was food in my mouth, but you guys heard me. People just want to flex, bro. Ultimately, like when it's all said and done, people just want to flex on their haters, bro. And I hear it, but then that won't make you happy in the long run. Happiness comes from within. It comes from meaningful relationships. It comes from things that actually matter. But all that material shit, you know, doesn't really matter, bro. You can buy a new car, you can buy a new pair of shoes, you can buy a new phone, but then the feeling wears off after like they said, 3 weeks. 3 weeks when you get that thing, it just becomes another thing.
and work that feels meaningful. Everything else is just stuff that sounds good until you actually get it. Consistency beats talent. Talent gets you noticed early, then stops mattering. The naturally gifted kid who never had to work for it hits a wall the moment things get hard, while the person who built their ability through repetition just keeps improving. Skills continue to develop through consistent practice and structured learning. Talent provides an early advantage, but hits ceilings fast. Your brain rewires itself with repeated practice, regardless of starting ability, through a process called neuroplasticity. That means someone with average starting ability who practices deliberately for years will outperform someone with natural talent who coasts. The growth mindset, viewing abilities as trainable rather than
That's true. That's just like going to the gym, bro. You know. There might be people that are just naturally stronger than you, have better physiques. Maybe that was the case in high school. But then when they fall off in like after high school, they go to uni or they become adults and they start slacking. If you stayed consistent from high school till the end of uni, that's like 4 years, you'll be way further ahead than the person that just, you know, had a naturally good physique. You feel me?
fixed,
Because of that consistency, you kept on showing up for yourself.
leads to persistence and eventual mastery. Talent-focused individuals quit the moment natural ability plateaus because they've been told they're special for so long that difficulty feels like identity failure. Skill-focused individuals see struggle as confirmation they're expanding their abilities.
That's facts. You guys, let me tell you one thing about myself. Never in my life, nobody told me I was special for shit when it came to anything. Maybe just my dad, but then for the most part, I always had the mentality that, yo, I need to get out of the mud. I need to go and grind. I need to work hard. There's people that literally have been told that they are special since they were kids. And because of that, they literally do not work hard. They feel like everything is going to fall in their lap. And I thank God every single day that no one told me that I was special or I was gifted. Nah. Because of that, I'm always grinding. I'm always working hard. Even when I'm tired, I'm always working hard. I just got back from work and now I'm here making a YouTube video. Always grinding, bro.
Which keeps them in the game. The gap between these two approaches becomes enormous across years. Treat every capability as learnable. Invest in deliberate practice with clear feedback rather than relying on innate gifts that only carry you so far. Talent opens doors. Consistency keeps you in the room long enough to accomplish something. The stories you tell yourself create who you become. There's a script running in your head right now that's deciding what you attempt, what you avoid, and how far you'll let yourself go. You probably didn't write it consciously, but it's been controlling your decisions for years. Self-narratives shape behavior through the confirmation bias and self-fulfilling prophecy.
That is true.
Repeated internal stories wire neural patterns that guide decisions automatically. Stories like, I'm not smart, or I'm not good enough, become self-reinforcing and block your ability to change.
That's true, bro. That's so true. I used to tell myself that I wasn't good enough and I used to call myself a loser. But nowadays, when I look at myself in the mirror, I'm like, damn, I'm handsome. I'm him. I can do anything. You literally have to, tell yourself, this world is your own story, bro. This is like GTA, but then you are Franklin or whoever, bro. You make the decisions for yourself. If you want to be an NPC, then you can be an NPC. And if you want to be, the greatest of all time, you can be the greatest of all time in whatever field you decide to do. This mostly applies to people in the West. In third world countries, second world countries, it's a bit different. But if you are here in the West, Canada, the UK, Australia, in all these Western countries, my brother, my sister, you can make something happen for yourself.
Your brain looks for evidence that confirms the narrative,
especially if you're white,
you've already accepted, which locks you into limiting patterns for life. If you tell yourself you're socially awkward, you'll avoid social situations, which means you never build the skills that would disprove the story. The cycle reinforces itself until the narrative feels like unchangeable truth rather than a story you accidentally adopted. Identity isn't biology. It's the story you kept telling yourself until you believed it. Rewrite limiting narratives by gathering counter-evidence that challenges them. Test new stories through small behavior changes that prove the old narrative wrong. Then reinforce the new version until it becomes automatic. The script running in your head isn't permanent. It just feels that way because you haven't questioned it yet. Sleep is a performance drug, not a luxury. You wouldn't show up to work drunk, but one bad night of sleep puts you at the same cognitive level. Reaction time slows, decision-making drops, memory fails. And yet, people treat it like something you can just push through. Sleep handles memory consolidation, hormone regulation, and cognitive function.
Let me know that I do feel like I need to start sleeping more and better. I can't lie to you, bro. I got back, I was working today and I felt like I was going to fucking die. I thought that I was going to die. Like, that sleep thing, do not, and God knows I might go to bed at 5 a.m. today. But then, bro, we all need to work on our sleep. Chances are you're watching this video at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. You need to work on your sleep, bro.
One night of poor sleep mimics blood alcohol impairment levels in decision-making and reaction time. Chronic sleep debt destroys actual output and accelerates cognitive decline, which means you operate permanently handicapped, regardless of how hard you try. REM sleep handles problem-solving and emotional processing. Deep sleep handles physical recovery and immune function. Skipping either stage consistently creates deficits that show up as brain fog, poor judgment, and physical breakdown. Athletes treat sleep like performance enhancement because it is. Your body repairs muscle tissue, your brain clears metabolic waste, and your hormones reset during sleep. Cut it short, and none of that happens properly. Protect 7 to 9 hours nightly as non negotiable. Optimize your sleep environment by keeping it dark, cool, and quiet, and maintain a consistent schedule even on weekends. Cutting sleep for productivity destroys the productivity you were trying to create, and the debt piles up faster than you realize.
You know what's crazy? That is true, bro. One of my goals for YouTube is to post 3 videos a day. Because my sleep is so bad, sometimes I'm lucky if I can get one up a day. You feel me? And I know that, like, to the average person, like, 3 videos a day is a lot. One YouTube video a day is a lot for a lot of people. But, you know, I genuinely do believe that because I'm not sleeping, I'm not able to you know, perform as highly as I want to. You know, sleep is important. It's something that I need to work on, bro.
Commitment beats motivation. Motivation is just a feeling that comes and goes, usually right when you need it most. The people who actually build something aren't the ones who get hyped and go hard for 2 weeks. They're the ones who show up when it's boring. Routine and commitment deliver success far more than motivation ever will. They work because they remove the decision entirely. Habit formation via neural pathway automation makes behaviors require less willpower until they run subconsciously. That means you stop needing to feel motivated to take action, because the action happens automatically. Relying on motivation guarantees inconsistency and stagnation.
Exactly, bro. Exactly. He's spitting facts. Do you need motivation to brush your teeth? Exactly. Do you need motivation to eat food? No. You just do it automatically because, you know, like, it's like in your daily routine. Once you get into the habits of, like, maybe exercising, you feel me, eating clean, doing the things that you're meant to do every single day, then, you know, that's enough consistency for you to change your life.
Because you're waiting for a feeling that never shows up on hard days. The cumulative math is simple. 1% daily improvements amount to 37 times growth across a year. That may not sound like much until you realize most people aren't improving at all. They're cycling between motivation spikes and crashes that average out to 0. Build systems and routines that function regardless of mood. Use environmental cues and habit stacking to make desired behaviors automatic. Place your running shoes by the door. Prep tomorrow's meals tonight. Remove obstacles from the behaviors you want and add them to the behaviors you don't. Motivation gets you started. Commitment keeps you going when motivation disappears. Discomfort is the price of change. Growth doesn't happen in your comfort zone, and your comfort zone is exactly where your brain wants you to stay. Anything worth becoming requires you to sit in the awkwardness of not being there yet. Neuroplasticity requires challenge. Brains adapt only when pushed beyond current capacity, which means dodging discomfort permanently limits your capabilities, while embracing it is the only path to expanding what you can handle.
Real, so real.
The learning zone sits between too easy, which brings no change, and too hard, which causes shutdown. Discomfort signals optimal growth. Your brain is wired to avoid discomfort because, historically, discomfort meant danger. But modern discomfort rarely kills you. It just feels bad temporarily while your brain builds new pathways. Do one thing every day that scares you just a little. Not enough to paralyze you, just enough to stretch what you can handle. Try the conversation that makes you nervous. Lift the weight that feels too heavy. Take on the work project that feels beyond you right now. Your brain will beg you to stop. Ignore it. Capability lives on the other side of that resistance, and every time you push through, your comfort zone expands.
This is literally me on YouTube, bro. I feel like at first I was super motivated with this shit. You know, the first couple of months I was so hyped. I was posting every day, multiple times a day, you know. But then now I kind of need to, like, put myself together, and I need to, like prep my brain to be like, okay, Dayo, it's time for you to post a YouTube video. You need to lock in, you know. That's how it's felt for me as of recent. Maybe you feel the same way too with whatever goal it is that you're trying to do. But then, you know, that's where it just comes down to putting your head down and doing whatever it is that you have to do, bro. You literally have to put your head down and just grind and just be like, you know what? I'm just going to take this thing day by day. Like everything is a day by day process. You need to be like, okay, it's another day. I'm back on zero. Let's go.
You can't outwork a broken environment. Willpower only works when your surroundings aren't actively fighting you. If your desk is cluttered, your phone never leaves your hand, and every distraction is one click away, no amount of discipline will fix what bad design created. Environmental cues override discipline. Poor workspace design drops productivity 38 to 70% regardless of effort, which means fighting your environment burns willpower daily and guarantees failure. Specific saboteurs include noise, clutter, and visible temptations that override even strong discipline. Willpower is a finite resource that depletes throughout the day. By evening, you've got nothing left, which is why people collapse into scrolling and junk food after work.
That's facts, you guys. That's facts. Right now, it's almost 10 p.m. I just finished work, and now I am making a YouTube video. That's strong will. That's very strong will, and I'm proud of myself.
Redesign spaces to make desired behaviors effortless and undesired ones harder. Remove your phone from the bedroom for better sleep. Eliminate junk food from the house. Create distraction-free work zones by removing everything that isn't directly needed for the task. Stop trying to overpower bad environments with sheer willpower. That's a losing battle. Fix the environment instead, and watch how much easier discipline becomes when your surroundings support you. Delayed gratification beats immediate gratification. You're one click away from buying something you'll forget about in a week. Waiting feels like punishment, and your brain is screaming that you deserve the instant reward.
I'm so happy that like I never really feel the need to buy anything, bro. I'm so happy that I never like, how would I put it? That's just not me. Like I never feel the urge to, oh, I need to shop for this. I need to buy it. Nah, like no. And I'm so glad that like that's not me.
But that voice is the same one that keeps you broke, out of
I feel like for me, when it comes to
shape,
like delayed gratification, I will say that like in terms of relationships, I feel like that's where I need to work on. Because me personally, like of course I'm single right now, but then sometimes I wish I could just skip the whole talking stage and just like be with someone. But then like but then no, you that's instant gratification, like you actually need to get to know them, go out on dates, spend quality time. But then for me, I'm just like, damn, like can we just skip that whole talking stage part? You know?
stuck in the same place year after year. The Stanford Marshmallow Study tracked kids who could delay gratification and found they had better SAT scores, lower obesity, and higher life satisfaction 30 years later. That one skill predicted life outcomes better than most other childhood measures. Instant gratification trades long-term success for short-term pleasure, keeping you trapped in paycheck-to-paycheck existence. Delayed choices like saving, studying, and training multiply over time. Instant choices like spending, scrolling, and coasting deplete. Your brain's reward system doesn't care about future you. It wants dopamine now, and every time you give in, you're reinforcing that the wait is intolerable. But when you resist, you're training your brain that waiting is survivable, and each successful wait makes future self-control stronger. Practice the 10-10-10 rule. Consider how you'll feel about this choice in 10 minutes, 10 months, and 10 years. If it only serves the 10-minute version of you, skip it. The voice demanding instant reward isn't wisdom. It's the part of your brain that would still be living in a cave if the rest of your brain didn't overrule it regularly. Your body keeps score of the stress you ignore. You can tell yourself you're fine, but your nervous system is keeping receipts. Every ignored deadline, every tense conversation, every sleepless night gets stored somewhere, and eventually the bill comes due.
Are you serious? Oh my gosh, what is the bill?
Chronic stress disrupts the HPA axis, which controls your stress response, keeping cortisol levels elevated far longer than they're meant to be.
Yo, that is not good. That is not good. That explains why I'm fat. Well, I'm not fat, but you get what I'm saying? Like, that explains a lot.
Sustained high cortisol weakens immune function, damages cardiovascular health, and disrupts digestion.
Yo, You guys, I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of things that have stressed me out in my life, bro. There's a lot of things that have had me like, oh, like shit, you know. And now that I'm watching this video, I realize that that's not good. You know, I might low key have a lot of stress. Excuse me, stress debt.
Ignoring stress doesn't make it disappear. It escalates into serious health consequences that shorten lifespan and quality of life. Each ignored stressor adds to allostatic load, the cumulative wear and tear on your body until
Oh,
systems break down. You push through the headaches, ignore the tight chest, dismiss the constant fatigue, and tell yourself you just need to get through this and things will calm down. Meanwhile, your body is recording everything and calculating the cost.
yo, this is scary.
Unprocessed stress manifests physically as tension, pain, and illness that can't be dismissed as coincidence. The link between chronic stress and heart disease, autoimmune disorders, and mental health issues isn't theoretical, it's measurable. Treat stress management as essential maintenance, not optional luxury. Process stress actively through movement and therapy, and don't forget rest. Stress doesn't vanish because you're too busy to deal with it. Your body remembers what your mind tries to forget
Ooh, this is so peak.
and eventually forces the conversation you've been avoiding. Action beats overthinking. The perfect plan doesn't exist, and waiting for it just means someone else already started. You learn more from one bad attempt than from 10 hours of research. Overthinking guarantees stagnation, while action creates the data you need to actually improve. Research shows imperfect action outperforms perfect planning.
Let me tell you something about this, and I really agree with this. Take starting a YouTube channel as an example, bro. I've been doing YouTube for a long time. Don't be deceived. I've been doing this shit for a long time. Between the time it took me to learn how to edit videos and talk in front of a camera, that took a couple of years. I'm not even going to lie to you, you know. But I was still posting my shit like to the public for everyone to see. And you know, my brother told me, my brother wrote to me was like, his name is Rotimi, but we can just call him Tim. My brother Tim was like, Dio, you're posting bullshit. Like this is horrible. Like, you know, it's awkward. It's not nice. You know. But fast forward till now, you know, we have 1,000 subs. We're on our way to getting monetized. You know, like I wouldn't have you like. My point is, I wouldn't have the data in my mind to do YouTube if I never just started doing YouTube, bro. You know, like now I see like how my views rise. You know, like every now and then I could get 100 views, 5 views, 1,000 views, and this just came from repetition. You know, no video is perfect. I stammer in my videos. You know, sometimes I'm tired. You know, sometimes instead of using my camera right here, sometimes I use my webcam. Like I just try every single day to be the best YouTuber that I possibly can be. And you know, it doesn't have to be YouTube for you guys, you know. Whatever it is that you're trying to do, you don't have to be perfect at whatever it is, you know. You just have to try and try and try and try and try and try. And that's imperfect action.
Because doers get feedback that corrects course, while thinkers stay stuck in loops. You spend weeks researching the perfect workout routine when you could have started lifting and learned what works for your body. You delay launching the project until everything's perfect, and by the time you're ready, the opportunity's gone. The cost is brutal. Time spent overthinking could be spent learning from real-world experience, and the variables you're trying to optimize in your head won't behave the way you expect in reality anyway. The fix isn't better planning, it's accepting uncertainty. Use the 70% rule. Act when 70% confident rather than waiting for certainty that never comes. Thinking feels productive because it's comfortable. Acting
Man, don't even use that 70% rule. Even if you only have 10% confidence, bro, go do that thing that you want to do, bro.
feels risky because it exposes you to the unknown. But thinking only generates theories. Action generates answers. Failure is feedback, not fatal. When you fail and treat it like proof that you're not good enough, you stop trying. When you fail and treat it like information about what didn't work, you adjust and go again. Failure isn't the problem. Giving up after failure is. Every failure teaches you something: what doesn't work, where your assumptions went wrong, and which variables you didn't account for. That information is how you actually get better. You can't learn to navigate without hitting a few walls first. And the person who fails 10 times and extracts lessons from each becomes far more capable than the person who played it safe and learned nothing.
That's true.
High performers fail more frequently because they're testing the edges rather than staying comfortable.
That's real, bro. I be failing a lot.
Failure rate doesn't...
I'm a high performer, guys. 101%. Do you guys know how many times I failed? Do you guys know how many times I fucked up in my life? Ha! Me? Yo, I be fucking up. I be failing a lot. A lot. But then I know that, like, at the end of the day, you learn from every single failure, bro. Like, every time I have failed, faced a rejection, maybe I made some trash food or something like that, like, sure, I failed, but then did I not learn and get better? Of course I did. So, fail, bro. Fail. That's the only way you're going to end up winning at the end of the day.
Predict failure. It predicts eventual success because each attempt reveals information you couldn't access through planning alone. If you're not failing occasionally, you're not pushing hard enough to grow. Treat failure as data collection. What went well, what went wrong, and what would you do differently for the next attempt? Failure only destroys you if you let it stop you. Otherwise, it's just education that makes you harder to beat. Fail often, fail fast, fail forward, and try again. Avoiding difficult conversations costs more than having them. The thing you're not saying is already damaging the relationship. You think you're protecting it by staying quiet, but silence doesn't preserve connection. It creates more distance than the discomfort ever would. Difficult conversations aren't threats to relationships. They're how relationships deepen. Conflict handled well builds trust because it proves the relationship can handle truth.
Real talk, real talk, real talk, real talk. I've had a lot of falling outs because I just never spoke about how I was really feeling. But at the same time, I do feel like, and this is bad to say, but then sometimes with some of the people that I have encountered in my life, I feel like, what's the point of even talking about how I feel? This person might, chances are this person doesn't even give a fuck about how I feel. So what's the point? But at the same time, it is good to have those difficult conversations because, like they said in the video, it builds the relationship, like at the end of the day, the relationship might end up becoming stronger. However, though, a lot of people are not mature enough to have difficult conversations, so to me, sometimes I'm like, what's even the point of having this conversation anyways? You're not going to listen, There's some people that you literally talk to, whatever you say, it goes in through this ear and it goes out through the other ear, bro. And sometimes I'm just like, nah, I'm not down to deal with all of that, bro.
Truth. When you address tension directly, you're showing the other person that honesty matters more than comfort, which creates safety they can't get from someone who only tells them what they want to hear. Avoidance does the opposite. It turns relationships into polite performances where no one says what they mean and everyone keeps up the facade. The irritation you're swallowing doesn't disappear. It builds into resentment that poisons everything. The boundary violation you're tolerating trains the other person that it is acceptable.
That is true. That is true.
And the feedback you're withholding ensures the dynamic stays broken indefinitely. Reality is, the conversation will happen eventually, either as an intentional discussion when it's still manageable, or as an explosion when resentment finally detonates. Address conflicts while they're still small. Open with empathy, listen fully, and problem solve collaboratively rather than defensively.
That's real talk. It takes two to solve any issue, bro. It takes two people to come together to solve any issue. And if the other person isn't willing to solve the issue, then, well, there's nothing you can do about it. But anyways, you guys, that's the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys liked it. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'm coming through.